Hello everybody and welcome to Click Sync Pay, automating your financial workflow in Dynamics 365 Business Central. My name is Nick Rouse and I'm a solution architect in the Dynamics 365 Business Central team. It's so great being here as part of FUJIFILM MicroChannel. I came across last year with our big acquisition, along with a lot of our valued customers that are on the call here today, and I'm really looking forward to taking you through this webinar. So as per the screen, we're talking about automating our financial workflow. And hopefully that's why all you guys are attending as well. So let's just have a look at the agenda that we're covering. The first thing we want to do is just introduce some of our valued partners, Continia, Axis, and XE. Each of those partners provide solutions that help us to automate our processes inside Business Central. So I'm just going to introduce some of these people. The first one, we've got Richard Hensby and Richard Hooper from Continia. We've got John Dunkley from Axis or SIS Data Services, and we've got George Hopkinson from XE. And they're all going to take us a little bit through our products, and they're going to give us an overview of what their products are and what they do inside Business Central to help streamline your processes. Then we're going to go and have a look at a standard process in Business Central. So we're going to see how Business Central as a standard will be able to complete this financial workflow. After that, we're going to do the same workflow, but we're going to install Continia, Axis Connect, and XE into Business Central and see how that will improve the security, the timeliness, and streamline that process for you as well. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Richard Hooper from Continia, to introduce his product.
Thank you very much, Nick. And it's great to be here on this session today. So really appreciate being involved in this, which is great. Can we just jump to the next slide? Great. So I just wanted to give you an overview of who Continia are and obviously how that's going to work in today's presentation as well. So just to give you a little bit of background who we are. I'm the APAC Partner Manager looking after all our partners across this region, and certainly dealing very closely with the team from FUJIFILM MicroChannel, which is certainly has been great experience for us. But really around Continia, we're about automation and process automation. And the great thing with our product is that we're very successful in these areas, and we're intended obviously to have a great impact on automating those manual processes up to 90%. And we have great customers all over the world, but key things are built inside the solution. Next slide, please, Amanda. And I just wanted to highlight, we have a number of products available in this region. And what we're talking about today is incorporating the document capture. So Nick will take us through that part of the system. We also have an expense management, which is, as the name suggests, is to streamline all that expense management processes within the business, automating that process. We have a document output side, which is gives you something like 35 templates and actually enablement to push documents out into the business and automating that whole process. We also have a Continia Finance. So this is actually a solution that's got a whole heap of modules in there that fixes and fills a lot of those gaps that's short forward in Business Central. And we also have some free components in there as well. So great product there. And then one of the last products we've got for this region is Continia Sustainability. And as this is, it's been driven by greenhouse gas effects and carbon reporting on a global scale, we've built this solution over the last couple of years, and it's really taking the data that's already in Business Central and giving you all that carbon emission reporting, and that comes from your Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3. So reach out to the team at FUJIFILM if you want to know more information about those products. Next slide, please. And yeah, if you can just tap through that. And as I mentioned, we're built inside. Sorry, Amanda, if you can just tap once more. Okay, thank you. We're built inside Business Central, so we're not, a lot of those systems can sit outside. We're not outside. And Thoroughbred has actually been involved in integration, built inside Business Central. And that's the way we've been from day one, from Navision right through to Business Central. So that makes it a lot easier for people to pick up and understand the flows, upgrades, etc., and the technology that we built around that and our legacy around there. And if we can just go to the next slide bit, please. So just give you some very quick numbers. Our head office is in Denmark. Denmark is the home of Navision, which is obviously what we know as Business Central today. And we got offices right throughout Europe, North America, and obviously this part of the world. And those 5 solutions I mentioned earlier. The big numbers here is obviously we've got 30,000 solutions installed in the worldwide market, and that's across 20,000 customers. So we have multiple applications in some of those sites. And as a team, we've got over 160 staff. Majority of those staff are involved in R&D development and also supporting our worldwide global channel. Next slide, please. And just there's a couple of things on this slide I really wanted to share with you, because it really emphasizes on the invoicing processes that we actually do through Continua through our OCI, and obviously, in conjunction with what Nick's shown today. So that number, this is part of last year. This is not our complete numbers for last year, but it just shows we've done in excess now of 1.34 million invoices are processed through the Continua network, which is kind of a staggering number. So I guess that means that we're out there. It's a proven solution. So that is just phenomenal numbers. Thanks. Next slide, Amanda. And what I just wanted to show here was just understands that data flow. So this obviously sort of sets the scene for what Nick's going to be showing us later. So as our solution, we're actually receiving those documents coming into Continua, whether it's paper, email, or invoicing, scanners, or some download. And then obviously our services, whether they're on-prem or in the cloud, we're using our OCR engines to do the recognitions in there, which then gives us our document capture side, which is our training of recognizing those documents and then registering those documents, the approvals, the posting, the secure archiving capabilities in there. And Nick will talk about some of that as he goes through his presentation, but that's the real flow that we have in there. And then I mentioned about e-documents. And if you can just press the next button, slide again. Yep. So I think probably a couple of clicks through here, sorry. So the Continua e-documents. So if any of you are using Pepper or get requests around Pepper e-invoicing, Pint or Pint, we're certified that for Australia and New Zealand now. And that just allows you to send and receive through that electronic email environment. And that's really it from me. So thank you very much and enjoy the session today.
Thanks very much, Richard. It's great to hear about that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how some of this works in a little bit. So now I'm just going to hand over to John, who's going to take us through open banking.
Thanks very much, Nick, and good morning, everyone. Really delighted to be part of this webinar today, and thanks to our friends at FUJIFILM MicroChannel for having us along. I'm just going to talk very briefly. So I really just wanted to take you through kind of 3 key things that you need to know. So John Dunkley is my name. I'm the head of commercial here at Sys Data Services, who are the people behind the Access Connect product. And the 3 things that I really want you to sort of take away from my brief presentation today is, number 1, bank data feeds are really essential. They're really vital to the accounting process. And if you're not currently using bank data feeds into your BC system, then you're most likely compromising your efficiency, your accuracy, and also your data security. So we see now that bank data feeds have become very commonplace in all kinds of accounting systems. It's a trend that really started in small business accounting systems, but now it is very widespread. And I would say that anybody who is using an accounting system such as BC really needs to think about the way in which they are going through the process, the vital process of collecting their bank transactions from their banks and getting that into their accounting system, into BC, for the purposes of reconciliation. So that's point number 1, bank data feeds really essential. Point number 2 is bank data feeds are now available for BC. So our product Access Connect provides bank data feeds directly into Business Central. Now we collect data from basically all of the Australian banks and all account types with those Australian banks under the Consumer Data Right, CDR, or open banking as it's commonly referred to. So this is really important because there are various bank feed technologies that rely on things like screen scraping. We have never relied on screen scraping. We don't do it. We obtain all of the bank transactions securely as an accredited data recipient under the CDR. And that gives us great reliability, great accuracy, and of course a great range of data available from the Australian banks, and we'll be bringing on some overseas banks, in particular New Zealand, in the coming months. So Australia for now. Third big point is around Access Connect is easy to get and easy to implement and very affordable. So Access Connect is available through Microsoft App Source. So it's very straightforward to go into App Source, find Access Connect, and get it set up. It's very cost effective. We've got plans. All of our plans, our pricing is based around the volume of transactions that you use, and those plans start from just $25 per month. So it's a very efficient service, and we can demonstrate to you just how much value of time that you will save by not messing around doing manual downloads and uploads or manual input for that matter. As I mentioned earlier, Access Connect is provided by Sysdata Services. For those that don't know of us or haven't heard of us, we're Australia's leading independent provider of secure bank data feeds. We're based here out of Sydney, do all of our data processing here in Australia on the Azure platform. We support many of the accounting platforms and names that you would be familiar with. And over those past 10 plus years, we've earned the trust of all the Australian banks, those various accounting software platforms, regulators. We're also certified, an accredited data recipient under the CDR, and also our platforms are all hosted here on Azure in Australia. So I hope those three things are important, are sunk in there for you. And just quickly on this side, what we'll show, what Nick will show the end product of later, is the way that we do consent. And this is in accordance with the consumer data right rules. So one of the important things about our data feeds is at no point do you disclose your online banking credentials to us or to anybody else. So if we can just advance the slides here, our process is simple, 4 steps. Using our consent app, Access My Data, which is registered with the consumer data right, you go through and select your bank or banks, select your accounts or accounts that you wish to share, and then that's done on your bank site, and then come back to Access My Data and click Finish, and at that point the connection is created, and from that point on you'll receive your bank transactions into BC, just like that. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, John. And that's something that I think is awesome, which is the fact that you can go into Access My Data, and then that then surfaces in your online banking, where you then give that permission, and you can revoke that permission at any stage as well. So you've got full control as to how, where, and when your data is shared. So the next person I would like to introduce is George. So George is here to talk about XE.
Awesome. Once again, thank you, FUJIFILM, MicroChannel, Amanda and Nick, for bringing us along and hosting this webinar. Very much XE are the new kids on the block in the ISV world. We are super proud of the plugin that we've built for Business Central, as no bank or non-bank globally has been able to put something together quite like this. We're not a data transfer, file transfer solution for your payments. What we've gone and done, we've gone and built we've basically turned Business Central and your payment journal into a payments platform within Business Central. I'm just going to touch on quickly around our parent company, Euronet. So we're a globally, NASDAQ listed organization based out of Kansas. We've also got Australian financial services licenses for Australia, and also the relevant licenses for all of our geographies around the world, including North America, Canada, UK, and Europe. So if you do have a global business, we are able to go and roll out a global solution for you as well. In terms of our connection as well, we've had that pen tested by Deloitte in the US. So you've got peace of mind in terms of the security around our product. We can jump to the next slide, please, Amanda. So the thing that we're super proud of, we've built the Pay with XE button directly within Business Central. Flow through, please. There we are. Thank you. So you're able to pay out to over 200 countries and territories in 120 plus currencies. from within your Business Central environment. We can also do domestic payments for you as well with using this product. So it's not just a foreign exchange product. You can do a mixture of currency pairs within your payment journal, including domestic mixed in there as well, increasing the efficiency of your accounts payable teams. Next slide, please, Amanda. So the main 4 points that we touch on with our solution, and this is what a lot of our clients are really enjoying at the moment, is having the additional security because they've got the XE encrypted API that goes directly into the XE Treasury platform. Very similar to how you'd be locking in all of your transactions and your rates with the bank or extracting an ABA file currently. I know Nick's going to demonstrate around that as well. This essentially gives you the ability to link directly into the SWIFT network to get your payments around the globe. This means that there's no files and no fuss. You've got accuracy as well because you can pick up your invoices within BC, pay those invoices, and going through that process, there's very little manual entry, and it obviously increases your accuracy there as well. Your efficiency enhancements means that you're not going to have to manually replicate data between systems. You're not having to copy and paste from your banking platform and copying back into your Business Central environment to do all of your reconciliations. We look after all of that for you. This is a truly automated and streamlined AP solution. One thing that the CFOs and the finance managers really enjoy about this product as well, it gives you unprecedented control over payment execution. This is entirely controlled with standard Microsoft workflows within Business Central. You're able to build out an approval process which is customized for your business in a very simple manner and secure. The way that we're able to go and do this is that we're able to go and run a direct debit on your Australian dollar bank accounts, or obviously if you're a New Zealand client, your New Zealand dollar bank account, and then we go and process the payments on your behalf. At that point, you're not having to extract any files to the bank. And then obviously you've got, to help with the reconciliations as well, you've got the SIS data feed that I know Nick's going to talk about a little bit more in the next few moments. Awesome. No, thank you.
Thanks very much for that, George. Okay, so now I just want to take us through a couple of different demonstrations of Business Central. The first one I want to go through is just looking at how we would do this process using standard Business Central without any extension to the system. Following that, we're going to have a bit of a look at how some of those processes can be replaced and strengthened with the help of Continia, Axis Connect, and XE. So let's go and have a look. I've just got one slide that's just going to talk about what we're going to go through. So I'm going to take us through a system where we're first going to process a sale. So a customer has been in contact with us. We're going to go and create a sales order in the system. We're going to make sure that what they have is in stock. We're going to go, something's not going to be in stock, surprise, surprise. So then we're going to go through and we're going to purchase that. Then we're going to receive that. We're going to ship it, then we're going to invoice the customer, and we're also going to receive an invoice from the vendor. From there, we're going to run a payment journal, in which case we need to download the bank file from Business Central and upload that to the bank. And then we need to get our bank statement and pull that down from the bank and bring it into Business Central to do that matching. Now, I acknowledge that not every single person that's on this call is going to be selling and receiving goods. This does also apply to organizations that don't necessarily run inventory. They might be just purchasing overhead. They might be purchasing services, etc. All of what I'm showing here can apply across multiple businesses. Just some of the processes might be different. For example, I'm not going to be running a complex warehousing environment or procurement environment here. I'm really just going to be doing the quickest way to get through some of the things so that we can get through as much as we can inside Business Central. So let's jump into Dynamics 365 Business Central, and that's what we see here. I've got my role center, and I've just received an order from one of my customers where we want to go through and create a sales order. So let's go and do that. I'm going to create a sales order for my customer, Alpine Ski House, which is one of my nice Microsoft demo customers that everybody's probably seen around the traps. We need to purchase a couple of things. They want a conference table. So I'm going to select the conference table. They want just one of those. So we're all good. And then we want some chairs using the Microsoft Olympics demo things. So now we've done that. You'll see I've said 10 chairs and we've got a little notification at the top. And that's telling us that the available inventory is not what we need. So I can click show details. As I mentioned, there's a lot of different ways that we'll be able to do this. Just by creating this sales order, we are placing demand on this item. So if we are in an inventory business, we might be using requisition worksheets. We might even be using the planning worksheets or have a more complex procurement process in place. I'm just going to go through and do it the quickest and dirtiest way possible, which might be turned off based on your requirements, which is just look at our availability check here that's from the notification. It's telling me that I have minus 10, inventory shortage of 10, and so I can just go and create a purchase order for that. So that's actually going to go and generate a purchase order for me inside Business Central for the default vendor for this item that's not in stock. And then from here, we can review this information. From here, we can then go through and I've got an approval workflow turned on. So I need to actually send this to my manager or to my procurement manager for approval. So I'm going to send my approval request and you'll see my status changes from open to pending approval. So this is where, depending on how much time it takes for that person to review and approve that, I might need to wait through this process. But as soon as they've gone through and done that, that's going to update and it's going to, oops, did something on my other screen there. That's going to come through and it's going to be released. So as we hopefully know, released means approved in Business Central when it comes to these things. So that's now been approved. The next thing we need to do is send that off to the vendor. So from here, we'll probably go through send, either whether it's manually one by one, maybe we've got a batch process that'll help do this, but we can then go and send that via email, or if you have other processes to go and send that. One of the things that that was mentioned as part of Continua is e-documents. E-documents in this process could actually go and send them via e-documents, etc. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. The next thing, once we've sent that, we're basically just waiting to confirm that we've received the goods. That could be somebody in our warehouse that's flagging those are being received and going through an inventory process, or it could be more simple than that. What we're going to do here is we're just going to, we've basically received the receipt from our supplier. So let's go through here and attach the receipt. So I need to go into my documents here and attach a file. I've received a receipt, so we'll just drag that in and then I'll save that as part of my system. So I've gone and attached that. Now, maybe they've sent us a shipping manifest or some kind of delivery confirmation, etc. We might want to record that as part of this process. So we'll attach that by dragging and dropping it in there. From here, we can then just go through and receive. Now, like I said, this might be disabled based on your requirements. I'm just going to receive it directly from this purchase order here so we can see that come through. Right, so now we've received that into stock. The next thing we obviously need to do is also wait for the vendor to send us an invoice. From here, we could be fulfilling it for the customer as well, but instead of navigating through screens, because I really am emulating a few different people's roles in the organization, let's just go through and do that receipt as well, the invoice as well. So once again, we'll upload that PDF invoice that we've received in our email. That could be done through the Outlook connector. That could be done by dragging and dropping it here into Business Central. And then once we're happy with that, we put the invoice number in. I'll just manually enter that based on what we've received. And then from there, I can go and invoice. So that'll be ready for our payment going forward. Now, of course, we haven't done anything with the customer yet. So once again, I'll just go back. We won't have a look at the invoice. We'll come here through to the customer's order that we've got. From here, also, this could be through a dispatch process, a picking and packing, depending on what your processes are in your organization. But here I'm going to go through and do a ship and invoice. We could do this in multiple stages. This could, once again, be different hats that different people are wearing in the organization. I'm just going to do this for the ease of this demonstration, where we're going to go through and ship this to the customer, and then we're going to send them the invoice so that they know what they need to be paying us. So that's sort of the manual processing there of the sales and the purchases. This could take place over several weeks or several days, depending on how you actually operate in your business. The next thing we need to do is go through and do some payments. So we've just purchased from the vendor, we've received their invoice, so we know what we need to pay them. So we need to go into a payment journal. And if you're using this inside Business Central, you'll know that we have this option called Suggest Vendor Payments. So I'm coming here into my payment journal for my EFT. And one of the things that's probably worth speaking about here is that we need to have a journal per currency, or maybe we have one journal for our Australian or New Zealand or Fiji dollars exports, and then we might have a separate one for our different currencies, whether that's grouped together or not. A lot of the time, we've got some export files that you'll be able to process based on our MicroChannel apps that are installed that can then export it in your bank format. If it's foreign currency, some of our customers might have some custom configuration that allows them to export in files that are supported for their bank for foreign payments, or you might just have that journal that's been prepared, and then you can manually take that information, enter it into your online banking to do those foreign payments. What we're going to do here is we're just going to do a journal for our Australian dollars processes. So I'm going to go through here and I'm going to suggest vendor payments. I just want to make sure I'm doing everything for today. If you're familiar with this screen, this is where we can really set up all of the rules to determine what's going to come through into our payment journal from here. So I'm going to say, let's pay up until the end of April, because that's when a lot of my due dates are through here. I could choose the available amount that I want to invoice if I want to pay my priority vendors. I could also summarize per vendor or by dimension if I needed to. All right, so I'm going to go down here and I'm going to do it for all of my vendors that I pay via bank transfer. And here we go. I've got one because we've only processed one invoice at the moment. But you'll see here, I've got it for my vendor for 4,000. And if we scroll across, we can see here, this is the amount of the purchase invoice that we processed. And then if we scroll across a bit further, I can see the purchase invoice that's relevant to that and what the due date is across there. From here, it really depends on how you want to operate. Once again, we've actually got an approval workflow turned on. So I've got a one-stage approval workflow. This could go through multiple people, through a procurement manager, a financial controller, etc. But I can't do anything until I've gone and submitted that for approval. So let's just submit this batch for approval. And then you'll see the approval status up the top right-hand side here is updating to pending approval. So that's going to go off once again via email to the people that need to look at this and review this. And once that's been approved, you'll see the approval status here then changes to approved, so we can go through and start processing further. So what we need to do here is create the EFT payment file. So I'm just going to call it payment just to be boring and go okay. And that's going to download the file that needs to then be imported into the bank. So this is where one of those issues come up where we now need to go and log into a separate system. We need to download a file, which, let's be honest, it could be changed. Extra information could be added to that. But then I've got a little fake online banking here where we can come in and then we would go into our, wherever we need to make those payments, we would go into there, upload our payment file, and then that would allow us to then go and confirm that upload. From here, we might have multiple stages of approval in the online banking app as well, which means multiple people will need to log into here and they would need to go and approve that. That obviously it is a secure process because it's supported by our banks. However, then it's not included in the audit trail of the approvals that are sitting inside Business Central. So you've got two places where you can see where that's gone through. Once that's done, we can just go and if it's okay, we can then come back into Business Central and then we can confirm and post this if we're happy with the way everything's gone. So that's the standard process. And that we were going to cover today. Oh, actually, no, there's one more thing I wanted to do. I totally forgot that we also need to do bank reconciliation. So the next thing we need to do is head back into our bank account at that process where we need to start our bank rec and come through here and download our statements. So we're going to download our data. I'm going to download it for the last month in a CSV format. And then once again, we've had to log into the bank account. We've had to go in through here, depending on our permissions. Maybe we needed somebody else to get that for us. And we've downloaded those transactions. So they're ready to be imported into Business Central. So if we come back to the bank rec, I'm going to use the payment reconciliation journal today, which allows us to match it to our customer payments, but also to anything else that's come through. So if I import those transactions, we'll get that one that we just downloaded from the bank. Here we go, from Excel. Okay, so we've got the transactions. It's a very simple one I've got here. Obviously, If it's a real company, it'll be a bit more complex, but we're going to run the apply automatically, which is going to look at the rules that we've got set up in the system, and it's going to match, and it's going to give us this confidence of low, medium, high based on the level of match that's been identified. So things like the text that's in the descriptions, the dollars, the dates, etc. What's that confidence? Are we going to have to review it? Are we going to have to go forward? There's also a bank reconciliation journal, which has that Copilot AI included as well. So the only one that hasn't matched here is this customer payment that I've got here. I've paid some unknown amount. So I'm just going to go through and flag it across a couple of invoices manually, doing a manual matching. And then essentially everything else is good here. So if I accept all of these, I'd probably want to actually review them if I needed to, but they're all flagged as accepted. And then from here, we're ready to either post the payments and apply them, or post the payments and reconcile the bank account all together as part of that process. So just in a summary of what we covered off there, if I just get out of here and we'll just go back to where we were at the start. We'll head back to the slide here. So here we've gone and we've done this process where we've processed our accounts receivable and our accounts payable. Then we've needed to log into the bank, get the information, upload the information, and then bring it back down for our accounts receivable and our bank account reconciliation. So the next process I wanted to take us through, obviously it's the reason that a lot of us are here, is to talk about how we can automate some of this process using Continia, Axis Connect, and XE. And there are lots of different places we could apply these, and I've just sort of chosen a few places that we could talk about where Continia can come in. So what we're going to do now is the customer is going to email us their order, and we're going to use Continia document capture to process that order and automatically create a sales order in the system. That could be submitted for approval. That could be automatically released so that it can be handled by the warehouse. Depends on the level of automation you need from there. We're still going to check the stock and create a purchase order. However, that could be done by a requisition journal, etc., like we mentioned. Then we're going to use Continia document capture to get that shipping manifest or delivery confirmation, to automatically bring that into Business Central so that we can review and confirm that receipt. Then we're going to ship the goods. Then we're going to use document capture again to take that invoice in, use the OCR to bring all the information from the invoice, and then we can review and approve that. From there, we're going to use XE to pay our vendors directly in Business Central using that workflow. And then we're going to use Axis Connect to pull down that bank statement so we don't have to log into the bank. So what you're going to see here, we're not going to be going in and out of different systems anymore. We're going to see everything coming in, and we're going to see it all automated. Now, if I really wanted to show a fully automated process, we wouldn't be here for very long, because I could just say, here's me sending an email, and then everything happens all through that. We are going to stop at a few places to see what's actually being created as part of that. But all of this could be as automated as you need it, or as manual, or start-stop as you need it. It's really up to you and your comfort levels with how the system works. So maybe at the start, you'll start by reviewing things a bit more, but then as you get more comfortable with the way the system is processing, maybe you'd want to turn that automation on to save you a bit more time throughout your day. So let's just jump back into Business Central again. So as I mentioned, the customer has sent us one of their orders. So I'm just going to go down to my sales orders list, and I'm going to filter that on my released sales orders so I can find one that's come through. So here we go. School of Fine Art, one of my trusty Microsoft demo customers again, has sent us through an order. And you'll see the main difference that's visual on the screen here is that we now have this purchase order that the customer sent us that we need to create into a sales order. So Continia has taken that and used that OCR technology to identify all the information and create the sales order based on that information in there. As I mentioned earlier, this could also be an e-document. If you have customers using Pepol or Pint or Pint, as Richard was mentioning, they could also come through intelligently through the delivery network and automatically be placed in here as part of the e-document framework also. So we're seeing this. They're asking for similar information that we saw before. So 1 conference table and 10 chairs. And just like before, if I have a look here at the line information, you can see, just like before, we've got an item availability of -10. So we don't have these chairs in stock. So we're going to need to go and purchase. So let's go and do that. So we'll create the purchase order. This could be through any of those standard ways in Business Central, but I'm just doing it through the Create Purchase Orders button, which makes it a little bit easy. And we've got this purchase order here. So just like before, we need to review this. We need to get it approved because I do have an approval process set up. So let's go and send that approval process. That once again, we'll update it to pending approval. So we're waiting for somebody to review that, to make sure that we are purchasing the right things, that it's within our expenditure amounts. We might have different levels of approval, or it might need to go through an approver chain even to see how that goes. Oh, that's come through. So now we can see that the status is released. So that's ready to go. So we can then, from here, use Standard Business Central and Outlook functionality to send out a purchase order to our supplier. Maybe it's via a phone call or however you might want to do that. That's also something we can do with Continia document capture. If you were using Pepol or eDocuments, you could actually send the orders to your suppliers as well directly without having to do any of that. So the next thing that needs to happen is a receipt. So this could be through the warehouse, like I mentioned earlier, but here we're going to have that come through as a confirmation. So what's going to happen, as soon as that comes through in the email, we're going to want to see that confirmation come through. So this vendor is going to send us a delivery confirmation. Oh, here it comes. So the emails come in. Obviously, this is a quicker process when we've just got one party involved, but the delivery confirmation has come in. So you'll see here, we've got the delivery confirmation. They're saying that they've delivered 10. I've actually had Continia OCR this and confirm that against the order, confirm it against the lines using their AI recognizing technology through that OCR. And then that's coming through here for me to review and approve. So I could either have that on a workflow, or I could just come through here and because it's assigned to me, I could come through here and just like we did before, I could flag that that has been received, or I could have the warehouse do that so that they've actually got the physical goods in hand so that we can see that that's now received. So the next thing is we're waiting for an invoice to come through. Now that they'll probably send it at the same time, let's be honest, but when the invoice actually comes through, then we need to go through and look at the invoices. So I'm just going to actually head back to my main screen here, and I've got my release purchase invoice here. So this has come through Continia. This could be an approval process. There's a lot of approval functionality we could have. We could have 4 eyes approval where we need to have 2 people looking at it. We could have this go through an approval process based on values or based on the information that's sitting in the invoice. What we've done with this one, you'll see, once again, we've got this purchase invoice where we've got the actual invoice here on the right-hand side with all the tax, with all the information. This could also check things like the vendor bank account. This could be a fraudulent invoice. So we need to validate that this is the same bank account that we have on file, or it could be our New Zealand GST number or our ABN number, etc., to be validated to make sure that this is valid. What we've done here is we've actually had it go through automatic approval. And the reason that's happened is because it matches the purchase order and the purchase receipt in that 3-way matching exactly, or within a tolerance that I've set up. So because it does that, it's automatically been approved. We don't want to have to waste our time going through that second stage. So we're all good here. The invoice has been created. Let's go and post. So you'll notice we haven't had to upload any files. We haven't had to do anything else other than verify that the information that's been brought in through Continia is the information that's relevant to us. The last thing we need to do, of course, is go and ship it to our customer. So now that we have all the goods in stock, from here, we can go through, ship an invoice or ship separately, obviously, depending on the process that you have. All right, we won't look at that. We'll just go back to our main screen. So the next thing we need to do is go and pay our vendors. So let's have a look at I always go in here, wrong place, into a payment journal. So now I've got a payment journal for my XE payments. And this is where we're going to see that process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and suggest vendor payments again. And I'm just going to change one thing, which is I'm going to bring in my XE payments instead of my EFT payments. So we'll have a look at that. That's then going to pull through all of my payments that I'm going to be doing through XE. You'll see here, I've actually got quite a bit. You'll see I've got my Fabricam payment that we just processed here in for our vendor in pounds. We've also got vendors in New Zealand dollars, euros, USD, etc. All of the currencies that are supported by XE can be processed in one journal here. Okay, so as part of this, we can review all this information. We can go through and have a look at the information. We can drill into the attachments, whatever that might be. And you could have approval, as George was mentioning. So standard Business Central workflows can be applied here. You could have multiple stages of approval, whether that be through the procurement manager or through the financial controller, etc. Then we can see through here that that they'll all come through. Okay, so everything's ready to go. So what I need to do now is go and send that off for approval. So I'm going to send the whole batch, and that's going to go to my procurement manager or my financial controller. You'll see once again, my status here is set to pending approval, and we're just going to wait for them to approve that. They would have received an email or a notification. They could open up Business Central on their phone and review and approve this, or they could open up on their laptop. Oh, here we go. I've got a great manager here who approves things the second I submit them. But that's now approved. All we need to do now is we need to go into XE. And as George mentioned, we've got this Pay with XE button. What this is going to do is it's going to communicate with the XE servers, the XE treasury, securely to determine what we're going to be doing. So you'll see here, my payment currencies are in pounds, US dollars, New Zealand dollars, and euros at the moment. As George also mentioned, this could be domestic payments as well. It's really up to you how you want to handle this. I've got my settlement method set as bank transfer, but this could also be direct debit. So as soon as we process this, this could be a fully automated, or we could have a bank transfer if that's how you wanted to go about it. Once I'm happy with this first process, then it's going to go and create what's called a contract, a currency contract with XE. And that currency contract is going to tell us all of the exchange rates that are real time that are being used as part of these payments. So it's going and collecting all of that for each of the different currencies that we're working on. So now we see, here's all the transactions, here's all the amounts in the vendor's currency, and here are all the exchange rates and how much it is. We can actually scroll across and see in Australian dollars how much it is through here as well. If I just scroll back across here, we can have a look down the bottom, and it gives us a summary of those exchange rates. Now, you might have noticed at the top, we've got 60 seconds. So that's how much time we have to lock in the rates that we've been presented by XE here. So if we're happy with that, then we can go and confirm this. If we want to refresh it, we have a button to refresh the quote, which will go and get new rates. Or we could cancel that and wait till later. It's actually possible to do this before the payment batch is approved, but we actually can't then confirm the contract any further. So once the batch is approved, we can just go confirm. We've still got that count down here. It's like when you're buying tickets for Taylor Swift. But you can see we've once again got that summary, the contract number, the exchange rates. If we're happy with this, we can go and continue and accept that. And that's us locking in those rates and that currency contract for that payment journal. So that's everything we would have done before by logging into the bank and processing all of that information, no manual entry, and everything's confirmed within the time frame that we had. Hopefully we've got 3 seconds left, but I've already confirmed that. So it's really just coming back and confirming. So that's all we need to do there. Here we go. We've now got the contract confirmed. We can see the information still. We can now go and post this journal. We don't need to worry about anything from here. If we're using bank transfer, we would need to log into our bank account again, but I recommend that you use the other way, which is the direct debit. Now what we can see is a confirmed contract. In the background, we can see a status as awaiting settlement. That's waiting for XE to receive our money. So eventually that's going to come through. Oops, and it's going to flag as settled. So now that that's settled, we're going to wait. We've got a contract status. At the moment, it's contract confirmed, but then eventually that's going to change back to, here we go, completed. So we've paid our vendors, everything's done. That's then calculated all of the right transactions in the background, including foreign exchange, conversion rates, etc., all in the background. So the last thing we need to do, just like we did before, I should post this journal actually, otherwise we won't be able to do any bank rec. So we'll post this journal, everything's done. The next thing we need to do is the last thing, which is go through and do a payment reconciliation journal. Now the difference here is when we come into the journal, we can then, as John mentioned, every morning we're going to receive our bank feed directly from Axis, which is going to come into the system. So I'm going to go in and get the bank statement. That's going to then look at all of the transactions that have come in today. That'll come through. Oh, here we go. So that's come straight through from there. No logging into the bank, no downloading any files, no importing anything. And then we can just go and, if we're in the bank account reconciliation journal, we could go and run Copilot across this. If we're here in the payment reconciliation journal, we can go and apply this. And that then will allow us to go through and review each of these. You'll see we've got our different transactions here, including our Fabricam transaction, which was the purchase that we processed, and also our customer payment where they've paid us and we've been able to receive and apply that to the payment. So once again, I'm going to shortcut and I'm going to go and accept all those applications. but we could have that so that they are automatically accepted if they're over a certain level of match. We could also have this set up so that we need to review them going through there. So that's the end of the process. Let me just jump through and have a bit of a summary. We've used document capture to process a sales order, to process a delivery confirmation or a shipping manifest. We've used it to create an invoice and do that three-way matching through the system without us having to do any of that. We've used XE to pay multiple vendors in multiple currencies through one journal without having to log into our bank. And we've used Access Connect to automatically bring the bank feeds into Business Central and process our bank reconciliation without, once again, having to log into any third-party systems. So hopefully that made sense to you. There was a lot of me talking, and as I mentioned, usually this would be quite a touch-free process, but I did want to show people how that was coming across. So some of the benefits, as you can see, we've automated a lot of this process from start to finish, right through that accounts sales, through to accounts payable, accounts receivable. Business Central isn't going to replace anybody's jobs at the moment, neither are any of these, but it is going to save you time. So again, you'll be able to focus on things that are more important in your organization. We really want to be able to save you 5-10 minutes here and there where you don't have to waste your time on repetitive tasks that could be automated based on these features that we're sharing with you. You can approve and pay domestic and international vendors directly from BC. I'm sure we've banged on about that enough to explain it. Competitive FX rates. So as George mentioned, we've got rates that are hopefully better or at least equal to the bank and the rates that you have at the moment. Automatic bank feeds coming from Business Central, powered by open banking. It's not just being scraped, it's not being emailed or FTP'd. This is actually coming through consumer data right via open banking with your permission. No logging into your bank for payments, no approvals, no downloading statements. It's all happening inside BC. And of course, I guess one of the holy grails, no or less manual entry in the system, so we don't have to go through all that again. So I promised you at the start that there would be some offers. So our wonderful partners that are here in the meeting with us have presented some offers that we can share. The first one is Continia. I should say all of these offers are valid for people who are in the webinar, who are attending the webinar today, and they're valid until the 30th of June 2025. For Continia, for any Continia solution, you're going to get first 2 months of usage free. So all those solutions that Richard shared at the start, you can have 2 months free of those solutions. After that period, the usage will revert to normal pricing. For XE, a lot of things here that you can see on the screen. We've got free licensing, $0 wire fee, and $0 domestic transfer fee for qualifying customers. We mentioned the competitive foreign exchange rates and also a $0 onboarding fee, which is normally $1,000 for people who bring that into the sandbox environment. Finally, with Access Connect, they are generous enough to waive their setup fee of $99 in Australia. Hopefully in New Zealand, that'll be coming very soon, and we'll be in touch when that happens. But the setup fee includes a 30-minute onboarding assistance session, which will help you to get that set up inside your Business Central. As I mentioned, all of these need to be done by the 30th of June, 2025. I feel like I should be saying all the little conditions super fast like they are on TV, but I've probably been speaking fast enough as it is.